Okay, in this segment, I want to talk about two very important tools that we have on our trucks that you're going to need when working on fans, motors, and electrical systems. And this is a circuit tester, and this is a clamp-on voltage meter and amp meter combination, as well as a test for ohms. These two tools are essential to know how they operate and what they can do for you. I will proceed to demonstrate these and show you how to use these at this point. Now, when I pulled this switch out of the enclosure, I wanted to be very careful not to touch this terminal right here to the metal enclosure. If I were to touch it, what it would do is cause a dead short and there'd be a big spark and it would trip the breaker instantly. Now this is common while working on these fans. You can have a screwdriver in here doing something, all of a sudden there'll be a big flash and a bang, and all of a sudden no power. Whenever that does happen, you got to realize you've created a dead short and the breaker is tripped. You're just going to have to go down and reset the breaker. Now be sure that that isn't touching the metal or going to ground when you turn that breaker on, or it'll instantly short again. But anyways, I have this switch exposed. Now, we talked about this little unit here. This is a circuit detector. This will tell us if we've got power in the line. This comes in handy before you start working on an apparatus if at any time you want to know if there's power going to it. Now, believe it or not, sometimes you can turn off a switch down below and there's still power going to the unit. And you're going to ask, well, how can that be? What I have found is that incompetent electricians or incompetent owners that don't know what they're doing take and put the switch on the neutral line. All right, so when they turn off the power, all they're doing is breaking the circuit going back to the circuit breaker panel. So when you come up to work on it, the unit isn't running, but lo and behold, you can be leaning against it or touching something in the ground, and you go to touch the switch, and yow, you got juice. And you're wondering, where did that come from? Well, where that came from, it's coming from the power supply line right from the circuit box. So that's why we want to use a tester whenever we're going to work on something before we put our hands in it, before we get shocked, to see if there's any power in that unit. So on this tester, what we have is an on and off to turn the tester on and off. I've just flipped it on. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it down here, and when I put it right up close to this black wire, I've got an orange light showing, and this particular unit's making a buzzing noise. So I know there is power going to this unit. All right? Now, that's how this can come in handy, just to determine if we got power to a unit. But I'm going to tell you, a lot of times you want to find which wire is the particular power wire, which wires have the power in them. Sometimes when you put this thing down in here, these are so sensitive they'll light up and buzz, and you don't know which wire is the one actually energizing this thing. So this is where we want to use a more detailed tester to find out if we have power. Now I like these testers here. This is a clamp-on multi-voltmeter. This will determine DC volts, AC amps, continuity, and also voltage. Now, right now, if I want to see how many volts are going to this motor, what I would do is take and connect up my leads. Now, this unit's an easy one to work on. I've got a black terminal here. I've got a black wire. I'm going to hook this up. This is, in this case, the common wire. And I've got a red wire. I'm going to hook this up to the red terminal. And right on here, this unit says volts, ohms. And ohms has a designation of a horseshoe. It looks just like a horseshoe, right? And we'll talk about ohms here in a bit, but let's just concentrate on voltage. We have scenarios where our circuit tester says that this unit has voltage going to it. But this motor, and most motors that we work on, require 120 volts or 240 volts to operate. And there will be instances where we have voltage going to it, but it won't be running. And you're, well, why? Well, when you put your voltage meter on and check your voltage, you'll find that you have low voltage, sometimes as low as 10 or 12 volts, but it's enough to show on this tester, the circuit tester that determines voltage to light up and buzz, but it's not enough to run the appliance. And there can be numerous reasons for low voltage. I'm not going to get into that. That's something that I like to leave to an electrician. If I got a problem with voltage coming to the unit and it's down below, very seldom will I get into finding out why. But the thing is, I want to make sure that I got enough voltage to run my motor. All right, like I said, this particular motor is running on 120 volts. That means I got one hot or one power wire coming up to the unit. All right, now, like I said, I want to determine for sure which is the power wire. Right now, I've got a black wire in here, I got a white wire, I got a green wire, and I got red wires. So, if I take this tester and test and set it up for AC volts, I want to zoom in on this a little bit and notice that on AC voltage in this little box it says 750 volts and it says 200 volts. Now what this means, this tester will test up to that range when you hook up your leads to determine the voltage. Always select the voltage category that you're not going to exceed. You'll get a more accurate reading. Even though I could put this on 750 volts, it will read my voltage. I want a very accurate reading, so what I'm going to do is go to 200 volts because I'm not going to exceed 200. This unit is only going to be supplying, I hope, no more than 120 volts. All right, so we're going to determine how many volts are going to be going to this fan. Now, there's two ways to look at voltage. There's a quick, easy way, and there's a little bit more complex way, which isn't really all that complex, but it's the more accurate way. Now, the quick, easy way is to take your test lead and just hook it to any ground. Now, I know that this fan unit is properly grounded, so I can just take and hook this thing right onto the shroud, and I can take my hot lead, and I want to determine which one of these wires is supplying voltage. If I go to this red one, I see my meter isn't moving at all. No move. If I go to this black one, bingo, there's 123.8 volts. All right? Now I said, this motor requires 120. It's receiving 123. You'll find